This is a description of the educational game, transportation game, and how to play it. An educational game is also called a serious game. One of the main purposes of an educational game is to make difficult concepts in value chain management or planning easier to understand. One of the main aspects in the transportation game is to experience that companies can be competitors and collaborators at the same time. Another is to understand hierarchical planning, where early decisions have a large impact on later decisions. For more details, there is a published article available. The overall objective of transportation planning is to find the lowest possible cost of transports from harvest areas to mills. The planning process follows a number of phases, from long-term planning or strategic down to short-term or operational planning. The first phase is to purchase enough supply for a given demand. A second phase is to make strategic wood exchanges, also called wood bartering. In this phase, companies can exchange faraway volumes to much closer ones. A third phase is slated to make a technical destination planning of the available volumes at supply points to a set of demand points or mills. In operational planning, the objective is to use the destinations to find backhaul routes to minimize the unloaded distance. In operational planning, we often want to find routes that minimizes the unloaded distance. A normal destination is based on driving loaded in one direction and unloaded in the other direction. This gives an efficiency of only 50%. A backhaul route makes a loaded transport and then drives a short distance to pick up another load for transport to a mill close where the first load was picked up. The aim is to find backhauls that reduces the unloaded distance. The outline of the game presentation is as follows. First, we make a short introduction. This is followed by a detailed description for each of the 4 phases in the game. Each phase represents the planning process found in practice. Last, we describe how to analyze the game performance and overall results. We also discuss how to connect to the game. The game is to illustrate hierarchical planning in a practical setting. It is based on an earlier game used only with paper, developed by Dag Fjeld at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. The game is played with 3 companies, where each company is represented by a player. Each player is responsible for the supply purchase, exchange, destination, and routing for her or his company. There are different setups for the number of mills, for example, 2 sawmills and 2 paper mills. The game can be played over multiple fictional weeks. Each week has the same set of mills, but the demand may change between the weeks. The objective for each player is to find a supply plan that minimizes the overall cost for his or her company. The total cost is the overall cost from the 4 phases: purchasing, exchange, transport, and backhauling. The requirement is that a weekly demand at mills are satisfied. The game board looks as follows. There is a set of supply zones. Each supply zone has 1 volume unit of saw logs, the inner part of the zone, and 1 volume unit of pulp logs, the outer part of the zone. We use a unit transportation distance. The distance between 2 zones is computed as the shortest path through other zones, as illustrated on the game board. There are 3 companies illustrated with brown, player A, yellow, player B, and blue, player C. Each company has a number of sawmills and pulp mills. In this example, each company has 2 mills. A sawmill illustrated with a saw and a paper mill with a paper roll. The demand expressed in a number of volume units is given in the box close to each mill. Each player typically only sees the demand of its own mill. In the first phase, purchasing, each company takes rounds to select the number of zones. The company that is active is illustrated by the filled circle at the top left corner. The other companies must wait for their turn to select zones. The color and letter of the company is illustrated after the name U. The bottom left gives the current cost in the phase. The top right illustrates how many more zones that must be selected in total and selected in the current round. Once a selection is done, it is possible to push the button Done to speed up the game. There is a time limit for each round. If a player missed the time limit, the number of zones to select in the next round is increased with the missed ones. In phase 1, a player can select only one type of product in a given zone and leave the other type of product to another player. Or the player can select both pulpwood and sawlog in this zone. If the same player selected both types of product in the same zone, there is a discount. To obtain the discount associated with the zone, the player must have both types of product from the zone at the end of phase 1. The selection therefore does not have to be made in the same selection round. The objective is to minimize the total cost, but also to allow a low cost in the subsequent phases. Each player chooses a set number of zones each turn. This number is defined by the game administrator. It is generally 4 to 5 zones of each type of product, sawlog or pulpwood. The time limit for each round is typically 45 to 60 seconds. The costs are also set by the game administrator. Let's take an example where the cost of a product is 4. If 2 separate zones are selected, the cost will be 4 plus 4 equals 8. However, if the same zone is selected for both types of products, there is a discount of 2, and the total cost is then 4 plus 4 minus 2 equals 6. A quick summary. Each player has direct information on the purchasing cost. The filled circle indicates which player is active, and your company is given after the word you. There is information available on how many more to select in the turn and overall in phase 1. Each zone and assortment is selected by clicking in the selected part of each zone for the assortment. The sawlog is in the round part and the pulp logs in the outer hexagonal area. If a player uses the control button, the selection will be for both assortment in the zone. A visualization bar lets you choose the elements you want to see or hide on the map. If a player clicks on the eye, an additional map is visualized. By clicking on a company and/or product, it is possible to visualize the selected information. A click on a company or product will either activate or deactivate the information. For example, on the main map, the player has selected to deactivate the information of the yellow company. In the other 2 maps, there is one map each for the sawlogs and pulp logs. This can be useful to better visualize the area selected and available for each of the assortments. Phase 2 is about collaboration. In this phase, it is possible to make an exchange or swap of an assortment or product in zone with another company. Ideally, a player would like to exchange a zone far away to a zone much closer. If this is true for both companies, an exchange is beneficial for both companies. It must be the same assortment in the exchange. The rebate of choosing both assortments in a zone from phase 1 is not lost in this phase. This phase is an opportunity to catch up from the previous phase if the zones for an assortment are spread out. All exchanges are proposed and accepted simultaneously. There is a time limit for the entire phase of about 15 to 20 minutes. There is a cost for each player and each exchange. This phase is essentially a negotiation, and it's also possible to offer to pay or receive a revenue for the proposed swaps. There is information available of the cost from previous phase and the additional cost for the exchange or swaps. The total cost is also given. In addition, the remaining time of the phase is given. In this slide, we view the situation for the Brown company, or player A. An exchange proposal is generated by pressing and holding down the left mouse button on your product area to be exchanged. While keeping the left mouse button pressed, move the cursor and drop it over the area you want to swap. Release the mouse button only at the end of the movement. It is important to click on the precise zone of the type of product to be exchanged. That is to say, either in the circle or on the outside near the hexagon. Again, it is only possible to swap with the same assortment. Once a swap is proposed, an information box is generated. Here it is possible to adjust the cost and revenues. The default is to have the cost of 1 unit for each player. Once OK is clicked, the proposal is generated for the other company. Any proposal generated by your company is in black, and any proposal from another company is viewed in white. A proposal can be accepted or rejected by clicking one of the two alternatives. There may be many swap proposals. It is therefore possible to view, for example, proposals only for one assortment. Phase 3 is to make tactical destination planning for your own company. Each of your mills have a specific demand. Given your supply zones, you must decide which zone that are allocated or destinated to each mill. All destinations can be done at the same time. There's a limited time for this process of about 5 to 10 minutes. If the allocation is not completed within this limit, a random allocation is used. The cost depends on the total distance used. There is a default cost of $1 for each unit distance. There is information on available time and the cost from phase 1, the cost from previous phases, and the total cost. The game board in this phase comes only with your company selected. In this figure, we follow the blue company. To make an allocation, you first click on the mill icon. Note that it is the mill icon and not the zone where the icon is. This mill is then activated with its allocation, and as you click on zones of the correct assortment, a selected assignment line is shown. The number in the box near each mill represents the number of assignments yet to be made to meet demand at the plant. It is possible to remove an assignment by clicking again. In this way, it is possible to revise a solution continuously. Also, it can be efficient to view only one assortment at a time. In the last fourth phase, we will find backhaul to make the operational routing more efficient. In this phase, it is possible to find backhauls within your company and also propose backhauls to other companies. As in phase 2, all proposals and decisions are done at the same time. Once a backhaul proposal with another company is approved, it is assumed confirmed and the zones cannot be used in any other backhaul. Hence, all proposals, including such zone, will be automatically removed from the other proposals. Backhaul proposals within the same company can be revised all the time. There's a limited time of about 15 to 20 minutes for this phase. The generation of a backhaul is more complicated. Next follows a description for a backhaul consisting of 2 loaded transports. First, click on the first mill to activate the allocations. Second, choose a supply zone. We have now started to generate a new backhaul proposal and an information box appears. Third, select the second mill which activates its allocations. Fourth, select the zone with an assortment. We have now completed a full backhaul. The dotted lines represent the unloaded distance and the filled line the loaded distances. The information box provides information on the savings of the proposed backhaul. If the backhaul is within a company, all savings are for you. If the proposed backhaul savings include 2 companies, the savings are split 50-50 in proportion to the number of mills of each company involved in the saving. For example, if the savings includes 3 mills and 2 of them belongs to you, you will receive 2/3 of the savings. If you are happy with the proposal, you can add the backcall to a draft list of proposals. To undo a selection, you can use Ctrl and Z. All proposed backcalls appears in a list of backcalls. This list is composed of draft proposals. Backcalls are sorted into 3 different groups. These are My Proposals, Other Proposals, and Confirmed Backcalls. Each backcall has information on the total backcall cost, the total saving, and the saving for your company. By clicking on the icon to the right of Draft Proposals, the proposal is activated and sent to other companies or internally as confirmed. A confirmed backcall within your company can be removed. However, confirmed backcalls with other companies cannot be removed. This confirmation removes other active proposals with the same given allocations. In this example, we look at the proposal generated by the blue company, Company C. When the blue company confirms the draft proposal, it will appear in My Proposals. It can be removed later. At the brown company, Company A, the proposal appears in Other Proposals. The brown company can accept or reject the proposal. All the time, we have information on the total costs and the savings generated in Phase 4. Once the game is completed, it is possible to view the results for each of the players. The results are compared to what is possible with an optimized solution. This optimal solution is based on finding the least cost for a full collaboration among the 3 companies. Each player's performance is compared to the optimal solution in 2 ways. First, each player is compared with the performance in Phase 1 to 3. Second, each player is compared to the performance in Phase 1 to 4. By clicking on the map icon for the players, it is possible to visualize all allocations made by the players. It is also possible to visualize the optimal allocation possible in Phase 3. This is done by activating or deactivating the 2 icons at the bottom right of the maps. This is interesting to understand how an optimal allocation may look like. It is also possible to compare the overall optimal solution by clicking on the map icon of the collaborative optimization solution. In addition, even more information can be viewed by clicking on the plus for each of the phases. The information provides the potential solution given the actual situation selected. It is also possible to select results for specific weeks if the game is played over multiple fictional weeks. The game administrator can also compare the performance among all the teams. At the start of the game process, it is possible to select 3 different color schemes for each player. This is useful in case of any preference or color blindness. It is not possible to change the color scheme during the game. To play the game, we will form groups or teams of 3 players. Each player will connect to a defined game. It is important to connect to the same game as the other members of the same team. Find the website of the transportation game. It is available at the bottom of this slide. First, you choose the specific game of the course. Second, you type your name in the box. Third, you select the group you are assigned to. Fourth, you select your preferred color scheme. Lastly, you select Go to start the game. So good luck.